Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to EU Deal After Brexit. My name is Vany Cortés, and today I have the pleasure of sharing the set with Mathilde Dicalou and Mathis Amato. We're students of Master 1 in International and European Law at the Faculty of Law of the Catholic University of Lille. Today we will be discussing the future situation regarding the free movement of people with special focus on posted workers and athletes working between the European Union and the UK. Welcome, Mathilde.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. First of all, can you tell us what are posted workers?
Well, posted workers are employees sent by their employers to another member state to carry out a service on a temporary basis. That makes them different from EU mobile workers because they do not integrate the host member's job market.
I see. And what will be the rules applicable to posted workers now that the UK has left the European Union?
Well, first there will be the transition period during which the EU and the UK will negotiate their future relationship. During that time, EU law will remain applicable to posted workers between the UK and the EU. So that means that very broadly speaking, free movement and freedom of provision of services will continue to apply. The worker will remain subjected to his or her domestic law regarding social security and labour requirement while remaining under the protection of EU law.
But what about after this transitional period is over?
Well, the thing about posted workers law is that most of the work has been done through directives and therefore has been applied into UK law. And thus it has become a full part of British labour and employment law. We also have to think about the CJU's case law, which has been crucial in building and specifying posted workers law. There is still a high chance that the Parliament will change posted workers law because it is still a very controversial area of employment law. The desire for more control over the inflow of posted workers from the EU to prioritise British workers has been at the centre of Brexit debates. So it would not come as a surprise if there were big changes in that area. However, they will not happen overnight because, as I've said, posted workers law has become a huge part of British employment law. So everything will depend on the negotiations between the EU and the UK.
But what happens if there's no agreement?
Well, if there is no agreement, the relations between the EU and the UK will fall under WTO agreements. For posted workers, the rules would be that of GATS Mode 4, in which the supplier of the service crosses a border. It is much less liberal than EU law and thus would mean a reduced access to the EU market. Under GATS, the UK would have to pick the sectors it wishes to open up, which may result in a very patchy coverage. In addition, under Mode 4, there is a tendency for states to add reservations, meaning they retain requirements regarding qualifications, whether they're professional or educational. They ask for specific licensing and technical standards.
Okay, and finally, what will be the consequences for posted workers?
Well, the problem is that what has been negotiated between the EU and the UK so far is most precise for goods. For posted workers, everything remains very vague, but a change in the policy applicable would most likely result in a tremendous loss of the rights and the protective principles that have been granted under EU law for posted workers, whether they come from the UK or the European Union.
Thank you very much, Mathilde. And now, Mathis, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. And you will be clarifying some doubts regarding the professional athletes and their free movement between the EU and the UK. First of all, what was provided by the deal regarding the free movement of professional athletes?
Boris Johnson revised the Brexit deal, but has kept what was already initially provided in Theresa May's agreement, and provide that citizens' rights and freedom of movement will be ensured. He also specified that workers will have the same rights based on EU law. However, the agreement does not include any specific provisions regarding professional athletes. Those are all more important that the system put in place does not provide anything for professional athletes or other important actors of the sports industry as national or international federations. The system put in place of free movement with a job offer and a classic immigration system, which may eventually be drawn, does not provide anything for professional athletes, leaving out the sports world issues the sports world issues, sorry. And the future of major ruling as Kolpak and Bosman rulings is very unclear. Those rulings guarantee freedom of movement for athletes, and if those rulings disappear with Brexit, the freedom of movement may be strongly affected.
Okay, but will all athletes be affected by Brexit?
Brexit will have a significant impact on European professional athletes working in the UK, as well as for UK athletes working in another member state. Particularly team sports will have to face strong issues as financial issues or other potential issues with regard to the quotas. For instance, a lot of Italian players are evolving in Premier League, and which may imply a large market of players with significant financial interest. Regarding individual professional athletes, they will also suffer from Brexit, but to a lesser extent.
Okay, and to conclude, can a possible change in freedom of movement have any positive effects in national athletes?
Some personalities of the sport industry do not see the Brexit as having a bad impact on their industry. They see Brexit as a good opportunity to propel national athletes to the forefront. Brexit could be seen as the perfect situation to promote national athletes, for instance, through the development of homegrown talent. We didn't have the possibility the opportunity to get a position in a team, for instance, because of strongest non-national athletes. However, a more negative outcome of Brexit has to be kept in mind. Brexit may ensure for team sports to less attractive teams, less facilities granted to coaches to move from a team to another, and thus to impact strongly the UK sports industry. And a less attractive industry could also lead to the shift of major events to other places, maybe in Europe. The future of professional athletes within Brexit remains unclear.
Okay, thank you very much, Mathilde. As we can see, freedom of movement of workers will be highly affected by Brexit, especially since EU law has been an influence to UK domestic law. And well, even if the UK government has ensured that workers' rights will be guaranteed and respected, as you said, these areas are still really vague and there exists certain ambiguity around them, but well, we just have to see. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure. And thank you very much for watching EU Deal After Brexit.